Welcome to another edition of the Market Review, where we discuss developments in the financial and capital market as it affects the economy. Today we'll take a look reviewing the recent report on the activities of domestic and foreign portfolio investors in the equities market. How is it going, and what are the signs showing from the whole capital market and the equities, particularly ecosystem? With me to discuss this today is Mr. Charles Fakrogha. He's the Chief Operating Officer of Supra Commercial Trust Limited. He joins us virtually. Nice to have you once again on the show.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
It's a big pleasure, and one of discussing very interesting developments in the market. Well, let's first begin with the fact that institutional investors, according to the report published, showed they outperformed the retail investors by 28%. That is a very interesting narrative. I've been looking at a situation where retail investors are the ones that will be even driving activities and being at the front burner. What's your perspective on that?
Yes, we've known that the retail investors are supposed to be driving the markets in terms of their small nature, and all the work the exchange has done to ensure that we have more and more of retail investors, and that will be as a sign of financial inclusion. But over time, especially for last year, we discovered that because of the pandemic, I would say that retail investors initially did not have that confidence in the markets, and most of them did not even know how to go about it when the pandemic was going on. So, and that was why we saw more and more institutional investors. Of course, institutional investors, they have the wherewithal, they understand what has happened, and they took advantage by continuing to invest. Because you will be surprised that even some investors who are well informed during the pandemic didn't know that they could still invest in the capital markets. Now, the institutional investors are aware, they have the technology, they have the know-how. So when there was pandemic, they still continue to invest and get the returns that they are expected to get, and they got the returns that encourage them, and they continue. That's not to say, because I know it's available. Some retail investors are still very conservative. They will not want to change their face-to-face approach. They want to always come to their broker's office. So that was why you saw a reduction in retail investors compared to institutional investors. It's as a result of the changing environment. Things became more digital. And some of these retail investors, it took them time to understand that they can migrate to digital platforms and begin to invest in the Nigerian capital market. So, but gradually we are seeing more and more of retail investors coming to the market now. So that figure might improve by the time we get the February reports.
Okay. I mean, it's very clear that the pandemic had an impact on the psyche of the retail investors, and we know that a lot of information and awareness is created over time, but there's still more work to be done in engaging them. And I guess, like you said, we will see how that trend comes out by February 2021 report, when that one comes out. But interestingly, retail transactions increased by 10.16%. That shows some very interesting insights.
Yes, like I said, the operators, the regulators in the Nigerian capital market, the stock exchange, we are doing all we can in terms of educating, informing the investors, especially retail investors, so that we also meet up investors' inclusion. It's not only the banks, the capital market is involved to ensure that each small investors have access to the market, have access to their stockbrokers. And the stockbrokers are also employed to ensure that they use their technology, make it so simple, reach the retail investors from all the various parts of the country. For example, I know some firms, they have what they call rep office in other states in the country. Also, in some rural areas, you have this, because it is not easy. The investors in these outside the urban areas, for you to get them to come to the market, they need to see your presence.
Yeah.
And we must follow regulation. The stock exchange has what they call representative center, branch office, and a collection center. Not all these operators have that capacity to are able to reach this rural investor coming, because we also want to achieve investors inclusion, so that investors literacy is very key, because the average retail investor in this area needs to be literate in terms of personal finance. They need to know why they are investing in this capital market and what are the returns that will come. And that's why recently we did a campaign. We ensure that these are e-dividends, that we make sure that when they come to our offices in those branch areas or rep office, we help them fill the form, they sign, so that their outstanding dividend warrant will be paid to their account directly. That is digital. So when most of them begin to see this result, they are encouraged to come up continuously to begin to invest in the Nigerian capital market. And that was why you are seeing those figures increasing. And of course, the regulators have to begin to continue to appeal to operators, because some operators will tell you, if you are not doing this amount of money, you are today will have financial inclusion for all segments of the society.
So investor literacy is very important, particularly for retail investors in the rural areas. We must explore all avenues. Most of them are not savvy with high-tech gadgets, but even the phones are not feature phones, can also be deployed through USSDs, providing them orientation and information about why it is valuable to invest in the capital market. So a lot has to be done in that regard. Well, let's look at the institutional composition of the domestic market. It decreased by 14.91%. What signal did that give to market players?
Yes, you see that the investing market is dynamic. And for every investor, whether institutional or retail, they want to get a return. And once they have met their requirement, you see them selling off. And you must also recall that it was this same period there was a possibility that interest rates were going to be increased. Yes. And investors are always ready to take less risk with higher capital. So in some of these retail investors, doing all their research, migrated to this space where their returns are guaranteed compared to the equities market. So that was why we saw some bit of reduction in institutional investors in the market. And of course, you also begin to see that some of them were also doing rebalancing. It gets to certain time of the year, investors want to rebalance. They have done so much in the equities market. Which other avenue again can they exploit and begin to get the same return? So it was just an issue of rebalancing of portfolio.
Rebalancing of portfolio, that's what really happened in that regard. Now let's take a look at the total domestic transactions. This time it showed that it hit about 74% of the total carried out in the year 2020. Well, that has been described as one of the big positives of the pandemic. It really made us have more domestic transactions. But beyond that narrative, are there additional reasons that this happened, and do we hope to see a repeat of that this year, more domestic transactions dominating?
Yes, if you know that the Nigerian capital or equities market, we have always emphasized domestic investors. Of course, no nation can grow without foreign investors. But before I even answer your question, we have to look at the foreign portfolios that are coming. Once they are coming, they are just interested in the returns. And if they see any little sign of uncertainty, of course, they will sell off and they leave. It is the domestic investors that will still remain. So our emphasis has been on trying to encourage domestic investors. So all the policies, programs of the regulators and operators have been geared towards ensuring that domestic investors are incentivized. We keep encouraging them, making systems, processes, procedures easy for them. Though at the same time, you also do that for foreign investors. But we've done so much. And those results you are seeing last year, for us, it's not a surprise. It's a lot of work that has been done by regulators and the operators. Because we have come to realize that the domestic investors are the ones that will sustain the market in terms of crisis. And we will need to encourage them to be in the market, ensure that the market is transparent, is efficient, market abuse, investors' protection is key. Investors are taken care of, their returns are given to them as are declared by the companies. And when they have issues, the channels have been made so easy for these domestic investors to approach the regulators, and they get the desired result they are looking for. So all operators are there in the market to ensure that domestic investors are taken care of properly. They make the market so simple for them, efficient for them, transparent, and they are seeing this result. And that's why we are seeing more and more domestic investors coming to the market, and those figures are telling the whole story. However, we are not resting in our hours. We will continue the process. We will continue to gain the attention of these investors in terms of market investors' confidence. The confidence of the investors in the market will continue on that to ensure that it is sustained and will improve on what we have currently.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, foreign portfolio investors, 26% of the transactions showed that it declined. And like you said, we all need foreign investors to come on board. But what were those factors that reduced, apart from the uncertainty, what are those kind of uncertainties that reduced the activity that should be addressed to have a good balance? And I'm saying that domestic should continue to dominate, but we shouldn't scare and chase away completely the foreign investors, foreign portfolio investors.
Yes, I agree with you. We are not saying we are closing our doors to foreign investors. We need them. But I must differentiate between foreign portfolio investors and foreign direct investment. Now, yes, we want to encourage even more of foreign direct investment. Yes, we can have it in the Nigerian capital market. I'll give you an example. They can deploy more expertise to improve the operational capacity of Nigerian breweries or some other firms in which we have foreign investors there. And that will translate to more employment in the country and a development of our infrastructure. But for the foreign portfolio investors, they are also good. They are not interested in the development of the country. They just want to come with their portfolio. They foreign portfolio investment, how they come to the market, then when dividends are paid, how the monies are being transferred to them, certificate of capital importation. That process is also made easy, which tells you that the government and the regulators are very aware of their responsibility that we need to attract foreign portfolio investors and more foreign direct investment. Now, these foreign investors, like we always say, only go to where it is getting returns. And if these foreign investors, they are seeing signs, the environment is not too conducive for them. Of course, you can't force them to remain. They will leave. And that is why the regulators and the government, they are doing all they can to ensure that we continue to attract foreign investors. But how do you attract foreign investors? They have to see it on ground. We have said the ease of doing business, but one key point I will not forget to mention will be security. Foreign investors will not want to invest in an environment where security is not guaranteed. So the government is doing all they can to ensure that the security situation, I assure you, once the foreign investors, they see that there is improvement in the security environment, of course, we will see more and more of foreign investors coming to the market. Like I said, some of them are already involved in these quoted companies, and they will not want to see anything happening to their investment. So the government has to do a lot in terms of security to secure lives and properties so that we'll begin to attract more and more of foreign investors to come to our market and give it the level in which we want it to be.
Now, when we look at the year 2021, we are in the third month now, and of course, third month that signifies the last month for the first quarter of 2021. The year is still ahead. We have 9 more months. What for you are those key developments that would shape the equities market, those things that could make or mar activity of the equities market in the year? And what are the steps that need to be taken to ensure that there's more efficiency and transparency?
Yes, thank you very much. That is a very important question. And it's a question that all hands must be on deck. Like you said, we have just a month for the first quarter, and we're going to be assessing our performance. Of course, we saw that in the month of January, the market did so well, but in February, we saw investors losing over $1 trillion. Now we're entering the last month for the first quarter. We're going to do all it takes to improve. Now, moving forward, I will start first of all with the operators. The operators, like myself and my colleagues, we have to become more professional. We have to become more professional. There are so many companies that are looking for funds, either by way of equity or debt financing. We have to get to them, encourage them, let them see the need to come to the market. And that was why you saw that the NSE some 2 days ago, or yesterday, launched the e-filing of application for listing.
Yes.
So these are ways, procedures, processes to make it simple, digital, for filing of application for listing. That is one method. Improve technology of our system. Make it simple. Make the platform simple, that even those who are not technology savvy will be able to access it and continue to operate. Of the threats of cyber security that is going on all over the place, and all our operations are now being digitalized. So there is training and retraining in terms of capacity building for cyber security, cyber threat, so that the average operator, stockbroking firm, will be able to detect when there are issues in terms of cyber security, because everything that is now being done digital. So we have to put systems in place that can ensure and detect as early as possible when there are cyber threats happening to the market ecosystem. That is for the regulators. Then for the government to ensure that there is better harmony between the monetary policy authorities, the fiscal authorities, so that the policies are for the betterment of the economy. Because this issue of when telling you, okay, you almost pay the treasury bill space, the rates are down, and they want to increase that rate. Of course, that will affect the equities market performance. So there have to be a balance in terms of policy, both monetary and fiscal, and of course, there's the capital market, so that it is good for everybody in the economy. Then overall, journalists like you too should also help in terms of enlightening the general public in terms of the benefits if they begin to invest in the Nigerian capital market. Because no nation grow in terms of technology, in terms of prosperity, without developing their capital market. Because the capital market is a very veritable tool for economic for economic progress, for economic development. It's a very important tool, and everybody has to do their own bits. Then finally, in terms of integrity, because the market is integrity, transparency, efficiency. If I run an SME and I'm looking for more funds, and I'm sure that if I come to the stock market, it will improve my business, I will improve my capacity, employ more people, and the market operators are transparent. There is integrity. Of course, I will be willing to come to the market and list my company in the market and continue to make progress. So transparency, integrity, honesty, fair play must continue to be the watchword of the operators, regulators, the government, and everybody in that ecosystem.
Very powerful words, transparency, integrity, and of course, efficiency. And we hope that this will be the pathway that operators, regulators, government, and all stakeholders would play, while, of course, in the financial media space, we continue to enlighten the public and all classes of investors on the value that the capital market is creating. Definitely the signals and policy signals will be very critical between the fiscal and monetary, and we hope that they will continue to align as you've outlined today. Thank you very much for the time, Mr. Charles Fakrogha, Chief Operating Officer of Supra Commercial Trust Limited, and we hope to have you in subsequent editions as we discuss around the markets. Well, thank you once again for the time as we discussed today.
Thank you very much. I will invite you to my new office.
Aha, definitely. Looking forward to that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes. And that'll be all for today's edition of the Market Review. You can join our website, www.proexchange.com, to get more information around what's happening in the capital market. The report that we discussed about today, the January 2021 Equities report on the domestic and foreign portfolio investors' activities, is on our website. And if you click on it, you would get that report. Also, we have the whole capital market covered for you, from equities to the fixed income and bonds, down to the unlisted securities and even the commodities. That's what you get when you visit the website. So we encourage you to be part of the community that will need to learn more and understand the value of the capital markets. Also, if you have any question or comments around our discussion today on the activities of the domestic and foreign portfolio investors, particularly looking at the January 2021 report published by Nigerian Stock Exchange, you can send those comments and questions to news@proexchange.com. We'll be glad to receive them and respond to you appropriately. Thank you once again, and don't forget to stay safe this period. Bye for now.